Good to see you. All righty.
Hey, I'm sorry, I got to open up. I was mistaken. I didn't know you were like a what, representative?
I am.
I swear you look like a cast member from Friends.
Hey, thank you, baby. Thank you.
Doesn't he?
I left the power tie off. And if I
What the
get it
hell
off
are
too,
you doing in Congress?
I don't
You
know.
should be like surfing and
I
picking
know,
up
man.
chicks.
I
What's your
know.
problem?
I know.
Well, I believe they do that in Congress.
Hey, not us, not us. I actually, I got to tell you, I think it'd be very appropriate if you'd get up right now and sing Happy Birthday, Mr. President. In Marilyn Monroe style.
In private, she did. In private. None of your business.
Okay, I'm sorry.
And Paulie, did you notice the congressman has no socks?
Sorry
Yes.
about that.
Neither did Mike Tyson.
You're getting me in trouble.
You're like the most laid-back congressman. I mean, if I ran into you in the street, I'd stick you up.
Hey, yeah.
I would.
That's right.
Now,
Paul, be nice. You're going to have to give up.
Let me tell you something.
I'm so glad you brought up stick-ups, Paul, because our first issue has to do with guns. Wasn't that smooth?
That was a good segue.
Now, this is interesting because down in Louisiana, where
Nothing surprises me in Louisiana. Kingfisher, come on, these people are
but
marrying
they have
each
a
other.
law now called the Shoot the Carjacker law. Now, we all don't want to be carjacked, but this law basically says, and it went into effect this week, that if you're sitting in your car, you can shoot somebody.
What's the problem? And the problem is,
The problem
Bill,
is a guy who probably doesn't know anything about valet parking.
you know, I think this law was passed to stop derelicts who wash your windows without permission.
And they...
Don't stop them permanently.
Well, let me speak. I think that it's if you feel threatened in your car, and you pull up to a stoplight, and your kid's next to you, and you're blocked in, and a guy comes up with a pipe, or a gun, or a knife, I think you have every right to defend yourself against this guy if you cannot get away. I mean, I think this law is to protect women even more than men.
Well, you know, I was just trying to be funny, and of course guns are very, very serious, but there's some people that deserve shooting. You and I agree on that, am I right?
Yes, we agree.
Although you and I are different, you grew up with a silver spoon in your mouth. And I grew up basically with a wooden.
The platinum.
That's right.
You won't have it for long in my neighborhood. Did I mention I'm a comedian, Ricky? Did I mention? Cheese and macaroni on Virgin Records. Sorry for the shameless plug, Bill, but I don't have your career.
Yeah. But anyway, it's a fairly dangerous law, I think. I mean, if you look at the history of law, usually you want to have a response that's equal to the threat. And unless somebody feels like they're about to get blown away themselves, when you allow somebody to take out a gun and blow somebody away to protect their property, it's frightening. And I say this as conservative Republican.
I got to say, I'm shocked hearing that comment. I was sure you'd be defending me.
Well, you're a radical leftist. I'm shocked we agree on this. And I say.
Yeah, but she's a babe.
But that's right. That's right. Which we'll get to the babes of the
And
White
being
House.
a babe is more important than being a Republican.
That's right. I agree with that. But it's dangerous, and usually, I mean, you don't allow people to protect their property over other people's lives, and this could be dangerous.
I think it's a feel-good law. I mean, I really think it's going to have no practical implication on the street. I don't think it's going to really solve any crime. I am for it. I think it's a feel-good law. I think it's just to make the people, you know, that live in Louisiana feel safer.
It's a reactionary law.
Yeah, but what happens if a lady takes a wrong turn? Let's say an older lady takes a wrong turn into the wrong neighborhood. That happens in cities, and especially New Orleans.
Get a Thomas guy.
Somebody comes in, and they start washing the window, and for some reason she's scared. It's 11 or 12 at night. She takes the gun and blows the guy away. I mean,
says, I thought he was going to hurt me, and then she shoots him, and that's legal under that law. And first of all, what are people doing driving around Louisiana with guns in their car with their kids anyway?
What are people doing in Louisiana, period?
Okay. You don't have the advertising from Louisiana, do you?
People in Louisiana are just there long enough until the Mississippi swells down enough to get to Texas.
Gosh. Okay,
No,
whatever.
Come on. No, you've been to New Orleans. New Orleans is a great town. It's a fun town.
Hey, New Orleans is not Louisiana. I've been to, like, Baton Rouge.
Yeah.
You know, where like people like me are, like, you know, natural suspects.
Right.
I have no love
don't
for
you think
people that...
a law like this is sort of a license for racists and other kind of kooks who
Yes.
will just say...
like they don't have guns already. Wake up.
Right.
These idiots in Montana,
But
the
now it's
militia
legal.
and all...
It's very different. And now they are saying that if somebody approaches your car, you can shoot them.
No, if you feel threatened, you can shoot them.
Well,
That's the same thing. The person in the car can define what's threatening to them.
Right.
And a person like Paul walking up to their car with no malicious intent might to them appear threatening, and therefore it's legal.
See, I should be more worried than you people, and I'm not. You know why?
Let me tell you.
You know why? Because I'm packing heat now.
All right. I have to take a commercial. We'll come back after this. Okay, we're talking about the new shoot the carjacker law, which is a follow-up, by the way. It's a sequel. They had the shoot the burglar law down there, passed in 1993, and the result was a Japanese exchange student went up to somebody's house asking for directions, and they shot him and got acquitted.
Yes.
Because... What?
But let me tell you something. I mean, we're talking about different things here. When you're talking about somebody going into a house, that's
just knocking on the door.
Well, obviously, that was an extreme example. I mean, obviously, the law is intended for people that break into your house at night.
Yeah, but how about let's say if you hate someone and you just invite them and say, look, the door is jammed, go through the window.
Yeah.
Bang, bang.
You've probably done that before.
I've seen Columbo episodes, you know, I know how to do this.
Yeah.
But this guy didn't even have to go through the window. All
No.
he had to do was knock on the door, and it was legal to shoot him.
The Asian student, that was a tragedy. But that law, the intent of the law was to get, if people came to your house at night and there were burglars, then you could defend yourself.
The thing about it is that someone once said this before, that if guns made you safer, America would be the safest country in the world. Guns do not make you safe. And listen, I personally have been shot at and shot back. And I'm not kidding you. The drive-by was invented around my neighborhood.
But Dee Dee, will people that are criminals, will outlaws listen to gun laws? Gun laws will only affect law-abiding citizens, people that follow the law.
No, but there's so many things happen with guns from people who are normally law-abiding, who happen to have a gun, and they act irresponsibly with the guns. Now, I know you remember the NRA, and the NRA... It has one useful purpose.
I thought we were going to be friends.
It has one useful purpose. It should teach people how to be responsible gun owners, and it does do that. Now, all the other crazy stuff it does, like lobbying for concealed weapon laws, so we can all walk around the street with guns legally inside of our shirts, it makes no sense.
Let me tell you what makes no sense.
Need a license to drive a
I mean,
car, they should have to have a license to own a gun.
When I went to Congress 3 years ago, you have to have a license. You do have to have a license to own a gun. But let me tell you something.
You do not have to have a license to own a gun in this country, and one of the reasons is the NRA has lobbied like crazy against it. You have to have a license to hunt. You have to have a license to carry a concealed weapon, but I can walk into Kmart and buy a gun today.
Oh, yeah, like you would be seen at Kmart.
I can tell you in Washington, D.C. has the toughest gun laws in the country. The toughest gun laws in the country.
Highest murder rates.
And one of the highest murder rates. And you have Marion Barry saying, you have the mayor of Oz saying...
Before or after the crack pipe?
It was during the crack pipe. You have the mayor of Oz saying that but for the murder rates, and but for all the murders in Washington, our crime rate's pretty good.
Yeah.
And it is the worst murder rate. And I'll tell you, I live 3 blocks. I live 3 blocks from the Capitol. Now, they don't allow anybody in Washington, D.C. to have gun laws. And I'm going to tell you, it's about as dangerous as the neighborhood you live in.
Where do they go to get their guns, Joe?
People came in to the neighborhood 3 blocks away.
I'm kidding you. I live in Beverly Hills.
Okay. knowing that there are tough gun laws, knowing that we didn't have guns because we couldn't afford to break the law, and we were sitting ducks. People got mugged every night. So if gun laws...
We had national gun laws so that people couldn't go across the bridge a mile away to Virginia or Maryland to get their guns, then there wouldn't be so many guns.
Only criminals are going to listen to gun laws?
No, but why do you think there's a black market?
Let me tell you.
The criminals going to listen to a gun law?
That is the same thing that the NRA always says. Are criminals going to listen to gun laws? Criminals... Listen, do you realize that more children get shot by the gun that mom and daddy left on the drawer than anybody else? Do you know that?
I have 3 kids.
You know that?
I own about 16 pistols and
God
rifles.
forbid,
You're a responsible
God
gun
forbid
owner.
the day that
people like
anyone...
me, and you should
But let me tell you...
God forbid the day that
getting
you
serious.
leave that gun there, and God forbid the day that anything happens to your child. That day, you...